Gaming monitor, you say. QD OLED, you say. 500 hertz refresh. MSI long warranty thing that I saw at Computex, I think. Let's unpack it and see what we're working with. So if you've been following the channel for any length of time, you know how much I love OLED monitors. The pixel emits the light. When we talk about 500 hertz refresh, when we do the monitor testing with other kinds of monitors like IPS or TN, the monitor can accept the 500 hertz signal, but it can't respond in 1/500th of a second. OLED generally can, because each pixel emits its own light. It's not passive. It can blink on and off that fast. So this is the MPG 271QR QD OLED X50. You have to be really careful with these model numbers because they can be very subtly different. And it's like, oh, that's the same monitor. No, it's not even remotely the same. In the box, you have an HDMI certified. It's got the little sticker. The HDMI consortium is not to be trusted. And then you have a USB 5 gigabit cable for the built-in USB hub. It's got a cleaning cloth, DisplayPort 80 cable. It's DisplayPort 2.1, yeah. Power cord, manual, your DCI P3 calibration, excellent. It comes with some bracket screws to raise the VESA screws so that you can do a wall mount, which is nice. That's the thing that I've complained about sometimes, because with these stands, the VESA screws are a little recessed and it has compatibility problems with certain kinds of monitor VESA mounts. That thing will give you the extension that you need to use a normal VESA bracket, which is nice. Now, this monitor is something that I saw at Computex. It is on loan from MSI. I'm going to send it back. Gonna have to repack it in this box. 8 out of 10 times when I buy one of these, I get the return, the open box return anyway, because it's a 2-for-1. If the monitor is actually broken from the return, I get to go through the RMA process, and if that goes sideways, you get to hear about it in a video. Now, this display is 2560 by 1440. It's not 4K. A lot of the other OLED displays that I reviewed are 4K. However, this display costs less than a 4K display. This display also will make sense if you're not going to run at a native 4K resolution. So if you get a 4K monitor, you can run at 1080p with perfect scaling, because 1080p divides evenly into 4K or 4K. Whereas if you have this is 2560 by 1440, it'll look great. And you need, not the highest end GPU to achieve a really high refresh rate at 2560 by 1440. 27 inches, so roughly the same pixel density as 4K in 32 inches, but 1440p in 27 inches. Now this monitor has a lot of really cool on-screen displays. Out of the box, it's going to be in user mode to save power and California eco-friendly and whatever. You're going to want to go in the OSD and set it to probably the Adobe sRGB mode. I'm testing it with the USB-C input. It has HDMI 2.1, DisplayPort 2.0, Type-C, and you can use Type-C for power delivery as well. So there is a built-in KVM. If you wanted to use this with a laptop and like an Xbox and a desktop computer, you can switch pretty effectively between a desktop computer and a laptop, but for like a game console or something like that, it's really only designed to switch between 2 different inputs. So MSI offers a long warranty with OLED. See, the problem with OLED is every pixel emits light, and so each pixel emitting light will wear differently. If you've ever experienced having a monitor for 5 years and it's like, wait, is the monitor dimmer over time? If you have it like a backlight source, yes, the monitor will get dimmer over time. So the pixels will wear differently. There's a sensor on the front of the display that detects, it's just a person presence thing. It's not like a camera or anything like that. It's just an IR reflector. And so when somebody's in front of the monitor, it wakes up immediately. And when someone disappears from the monitor will turn off. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool feature. There are also extra features in the monitor in the on-screen display to detect things like the Windows taskbar, so that the Windows taskbar doesn't burn in, and that logos don't burn in the corner if you're watching different content. But MSI also is, depending on your region and some other things, 3-year warranty and beyond for this kind of a display. So MSI, I think, is pretty confident in their solution. Now, for all of our standard fare monitor testing that we like to do, it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. OLED displays in general, once you experience them, it's like, oh, this is what display technology should be. Yeah, basically. Just starting with black scrolling text on white. It is crystal clear. It is amazing. It's beautiful. But also everything with like video games, like if you have any motion blur, like if your eyes just track the thing, there will be no motion blur as a result of things from the display. There's a lot of stuff in the display smarts to deal with video game situations as well. Like HDMI is a little weird in terms of like console versus not console. And if you're on Linux or open source operating systems, your HDMI experience is not great because the HDMI consortium doesn't believe in trusting the end user at all. They think you're a dirty, filthy pirate, and so they will literally cripple software and hardware functionality for open source operating systems because customers don't deserve things that are fully functional. That's just the HDMI side of things. The on-screen display on this has console mode on or off. That's where I was going with that. So MSI actually gives you a tweak that you can do to the way that HDMI functions to overcome some of the weird self-breaking compatibility nonsense between HDMI in a console context and HDMI in a desktop computer context. And so it's really nice that they do that to improve the quality of life and the functionality. In terms of like HDR functionality and 1,000 nits of brightness, yes, this display can do that, and it is very, very much like butter for your eyes. Out of the box, Active Sync was enabled, so you can do Active Sync, it'll sync up. But when you've got a display that's this high of refresh, sometimes Active Sync doesn't make sense and you want to do like, MPRT and just let the graphics card sort of catch up with that. So gaming on this display, even if you're not necessarily targeting 500 Hertz, is a glorious and magical experience. I think Adaptive Sync makes sense if you're targeting, playing a game at about 100 FPS. But at like 500 FPS, yeah, maybe it makes sense to disable Active Sync and enable the black frame insertion, like the MPRT stuff. All of the other tests that we did with, chase squares and really high-speed photography, the display is very, very well put together. There's a lot of intelligence. The computer that's driving the display is really incredible. The input latency, like just measuring the input latency as best I can from the machine to the actual display before it starts displaying something, is about 0.3 milliseconds, give or take. Now, depending on the display mode and the input that you're using, it can vary. But generally it doesn't require a lot of pre-processing. Again, 1/60th of a second is 16 milliseconds, so generally anything under 1 millisecond is just like rounding instrumentation error. This is also one of the few displays that was actually able to run 500 Hertz through a USB-C connection. The KVM functionality in these displays sometimes leaves a little bit to be desired. It's a little clunky with the MSI. It's not the most clunky thing, the most clunky aspect of the monitor, which we'll talk about, but the USB-C and DisplayPort like KVM type functionality works really well, and you can actually get 500 Hertz refresh through the USB-C connection. So if you have a laptop that has, like a gaming laptop that's got a built-in 5090 or whatever, and you have to use a USB-C connection, the USB-C connection can actually drive a 500 Hertz refresh, which is normally reserved just for the DisplayPort connection. And I would still recommend the full-size DisplayPort connection if you're going to run that absurd refresh rate with, full DisplayPort 2.1 and all that. The monitor does also let you toggle off display stream compression. So if you'd like to run your display at an absurdly high refresh rate and disable compression, because some people say they can see the display stream compression artifacts, which is sort of a dubious claim, but okay. You can disable that in the on-screen display as well. The on-screen display really is one of the most full-featured and well thought out and put together on-screen displays. Other manufacturers would do well looking at what MSI, the thought that MSI has put in their on-screen display, and copying that for their OLED offerings, because they have left no stone unturned, and it is really nice to see that. It's really nice to see a display this well put together. And I will probably pick up the 4K version of this monitor. Like if I can get a 4K version of this monitor that has this on-screen display, I'm gonna get out my credit card, and it's yeah, it's a fun time. I was not expecting the monitor to be this well put together. Now the clunkiness. So the person sensor, you can run the MSI software and that works better, but there is the capability in the display to do presence detection. I like that better, and I wish that it worked a little better. For some reason, it doesn't really work super well with me, and it doesn't work at all in the setup in studio, probably because of the bright lights and all the other stuff. It can't detect a person. I don't know why. On my desk, because I'm sitting not super far away from it, but like you've seen my office setup in live streams, it's kind of weird. It doesn't do a good job detecting me. And so the presence detection thing, when it does work, Like if I use a table, short depth, yeah, I can create a table situation where it does work really well. You know, 3 feet away from the display, it wakes up. I go away from the display, it turns off. That is cool AF. I love that functionality. It works great. It works great on the MSI's like business class monitors. It works fantastically well. For whatever reason, the bar is set really high with those MSI business class displays where they wake up and like they turn on and off depending on your presence. And for whatever reason, it works fantastically better on the business class displays than this with the presence detector. Even though the on-screen display on this one gives you a ton more options, it does not work quite as well with this as it does with that. Now, if you install the MSI software and you're running, you know, the MSI integration, it works better than what it works in the display. But if MSI can do this on a cheap business class display, they can do it on the OLED display. That's really the only complaint that I have. If you have a chance to experience this monitor in person, like go to a Micro Center or your local electronics store or whatever, you will see exactly what I'm talking about pretty much immediately. You can go to a web page, you can explore it. It's just like, oh, I need an OLED in my life. OLED, I mean, they're a premium monitor, but it is a premium experience for your eyeballs. So that's about all I can say about that.